If you want, Evan. We wish.
Alright, we should be coming back.
Is love.
There we go. Alright, we're back. Welcome to the Blood and Ink reading segment for today. Yes, you get to hear more storytelling while derping around with RPG Maker. Okay.
Yep, we're in the home stretch, people.
Yep. So at some point, I may or may not have to go AFK. I will not announce this. I will just randomly disappear. I will keep the stream running, though. I don't want to interrupt the fun. Even though I'm interrupting everyone right now. No, I'm interrupting you now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I have the floor. Alright, it's chapter 10 of 15. We have, like, 78 pages left to go. Let's see how much crazier this can get. Alright, chapter 10. Worlds within worlds are governed by very special rules. Right out of the gate. Among these are a delicate connection between the creator of that world and its stability. If that connection is broken, say because of the death of the creator, the world will crumble. This is what began happening the moment Bleako's body was destroyed. His demonic soul was expelled out into oblivion. While his artificially created world began to implode on itself. And an unconscious Blinko was right in the middle of it all. Master Sohi stared into his crystal ball. His voice shook. Oh no, this is terrible. Terrible. What do you see, Master? What's wrong? Is Blinko okay? Please don't tell me Blinko beat him. I don't think I could stand it. I smashed my fists down onto the tabletop. No, Blinko destroyed that terrible creature. He used all of his power and eradicated Blinko's physical body, but in doing so, he used up so much energy that he collapsed. I'm afraid Blinko's world isn't reacting very well to Blinko's passing. We stared into the crystal ball and saw pieces of landmass breaking up and vanishing into space. The world that had served as Blinko's lair was crumbling into dust. And through it all, Blinko lay with his eyes closed on the center of a rock. It was only a matter of time. We have to get him out. We have to do something. Can't you use your magic to get him out? Mike put a hand on his head and began pacing back and forth. Blinko can't die there. He just can't. There's so much I need to tell him. I am sorry, young one, Master Sohi shook his head. No amount of magic can pierce the curtain around which Blinko formed his world. It is impossible. The only one that can get into and out of that world is Blinko. If I try and tamper with it, it may just cause the world to deteriorate faster.
Okay.
He began furiously tapping on the glass, trying to wake him up. Nothing seemed to be working. Deep inside Blinko's cave, Blackthorn and Rancor scrambled around madly. The cave was falling apart. Huge rocks would fall to the ground and then vanish into nothingness. The two villains were in a panic. This is entirely your fault, you fool. You made Blinko angry, and now he's trying to destroy us, Blackthorn bellowed. He grabbed Rancor around the neck. Me? What did I do, you old coot? I never did anything. Rancor punched Blackthorn in the face and recoiled away from him. You freed those two toonlings, you idiot. Don't you realize how mad that made him? Mad enough to abandon and destroy us. We've got to get out of here. And, it's all a metaphor for God, somehow. Weird. He grabbed Rancor by the arm and pulled him back to his lab as rocks rained down over them. Don't think I'm helping you because I like you. You must understand. I simply don't like to see a good, evil mind go to waste. I will rescue you, but you must pledge your undying loyalty to me forever. No way, Gramps, Rancor turned his back to him. I already made that deal once with Blinko, and it blew up in my face. From now on, I'm my own rat. That's all very well and good, my friend, but this cave is falling down around us. Blackthorn jumped backward, then dodged a heavy rock which evaporated in seconds. I have the only way out of here. Make up your mind. Yeah. You can't leave me here. I'll die. This place is going to be gone within a few minutes. Rancor fell to his knees. Fine, you win. I'll serve you. Just get me out of here. That's a good rat. Behold, he pulled a small controller, no bigger than a ring box, from his coat pocket. This is the portalizer. This is the portalizer. 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 With this, I can travel between worlds. It's something I've been working on, just in case Bliko decided I wasn't worth having around anymore.
Stephanie is meditating right now. She's honing her chakra to become more attuned to the world of nature around her.
Actually, I was just going to go, oh good, my slow clap processor made it into this thing. But, anyway, so we have that. Which one of them would turn into a frickin' potato? He pointed the block at an empty cave wall and a shimmering hole in the center. On the other side of the hole could be seen Blackthorn's old lab back on Earth. A huge piece of rock fell down inches from Rancor's foot and vanished promptly. Let's get out of here, old timer. Rancor and Blackthorn took a deep breath and jumped through the portal. Behind them, Bleago's world vanished with a loud suction sound. Somebody flushing a toilet. There was only darkness. I know you said I couldn't ruin darkness, but this book is doing a really this book is really trying to ruin darkness. In Master Sohi's shop, we watched the other world flash brightly once and then nothing. We could no longer see Blinko. I grabbed the crystal ball and shook it vigorously. Blinko, Blinko, where are you, Blinko? Master Sohi, your crystal ball is on the fritz. I can't see Blinko anymore. I did tell him I love him. Master Sohi peered into the crystal and shook his head sadly. That is because that world has collapsed. It no longer exists. And anything and everything that was inside when it vanished. No, it can't be. You're saying Blinko... Blinko is... I couldn't bring myself to finish the sentence. I looked over at Mike and he had tears in his eyes as well. There must be something that you can do, so he choked back. He choked back a sob. Blinko is our brother, and he's my... Wow, what? He drew silent as I gazed at him. Come on, Mike, let's go. Let's go back to the apartment. In tears, I began to lift upwards out of the shop. Master Sohi stared at us with curiosity. Wait a moment. Something is strange here. You can still fly. Why? Why? Why can we still fly? What kind of question is that, you jerk? Our brother is dead. He's gone forever, and all you can do is mutter about how he can fly. I oughta... No, you misunderstand, my friend. Your powers of flight were given to you by Blinko. They are, in fact, his power transferred to you. If he is, in fact, truly dead, how can you still fly? His powers should have vanished instantly, leaving you without powers of flight. Without your powers of flight. I don't know, maybe they just stayed with us. It doesn't matter. Blinko is gone. He's gone forever. Oh, Mike, what are we going to do without Blinko? Oh. The guy is so oblivious in real life, and his author avatar isn't even, like, any smarter. It's just like, he could still be alive. Oh, what are you talking about? Anyway. It was a somber time back at the fortress on the moon. None of the League felt like talking much. All we could think about was Blinko and how we would never see him again. Our hearts were breaking, and it felt like a part of our soul had been ripped out of us. We should call the mayor tomorrow, I said sadly. Blinko deserves the biggest memorial service possible. He was truly a great hero. I only wish he could do more. we could do more. He was the best and bravest of us. The world will miss him. Yeah, okay, we get it. He was great, yeah.
Lol.
Clyde
Blinko,
was,
help me.
Clyde was falling apart once he had heard about that had happened. Again. Once he had heard about that had happened. He had locked himself in his room and refused to come out, but we could hear him sobbing loudly inside. It seemed as if without Blinko, nothing mattered. What's the point? I said glumly. No matter what we do, we'll never be the force we once were. Without Blinko, the League has no point. He was our heart and soul, our reason for being. Without him, we might as well. Shut up! Our eyes flew to the door. That's practically it. And we saw Clyde standing there shaking. What kind of way is that to talk? How is that respecting Blinko's memory at all? He wouldn't want this. He'd want the League to go on without him because we do good in the world. We protect people. If we give up, if we surrender to the evils of the world, we might as well just destroy it ourselves because if we give up, we're handing it over to darkness. Our world will be nothing. It will be run by sick, twisted monsters that care only for power. It will be a nightmare, and Blinko's sacrifice will have been in vain, because he might as well have just let Blinko ruin it. If you lose hope, if you don't fight with every ounce of courage you have, goodness and righteousness will die, and I won't let that happen, no matter what. I'll fight you myself if you don't shut your mouth. Clyde, shut up, you're not Eren Yeager. His voice shook with so much passion and rage that for the first time since I had known him, I actually felt a bit of respect to him. He reminded me of Blinko on that day, so long ago. He reminded me of all Blinko had stood for, of what we stood for. We were all that stood between the rest of the world and the madness that inhabited it. What am I even reading anymore? And that's saying a lot, considering the rest of this freaking book, man. We said not a word as we disbanded for the day. Yeah, disbanded for the day. But each one of us was thinking about what Clyde had said. It hung over us like a cloud. He was right, of course. Blinko wouldn't have wanted us to give up. He would have wanted us to fight on. Because it happened to be that Clyde was right. How many times can you say the same freaking thing in the next 5 sentences? Jeez. In the simplest terms, we do in fact do good. Good and evil, good and evil, good and evil. The entire league sat around the meeting table crying. And there were mothers brought their babies and they were crying. We couldn't help it. The thought that we would never see our friend, brother, and leader again was too much. Tears poured from our eyes as we cried out for Blinko. Picture a void so empty that it can't even be called dark.
Oh my gosh.
In this void, pitch dark.
Wow.
Would be as bright as the sun. A void so empty it can only contain nega darkness. Nega darkness.
Nega darkness.
Inside which no light can survive. It's called the black hole, which is what this book is. To anything good. This is turning into the TV. This is the TV you have to stream. There's no light can survive. Now watch as a small figure floats through this oblivion. And not the good kind of oblivion. On his back. His eyes snap open. Because everything snaps. It's like, I don't know. And he flounders around in the void. He looks at his hands. Or rather, tries to. Even with his hand an inch from his face, he can't even make out its shape. He cries out, but even his voice is lost in the nothingness that surrounds him. He feels a small tear roll down his cheek. Blinko felt something drop onto him from above. Surprised, he felt up and he reached up and felt the top of his head. It was wet. Water? Where could water have come from? He thought to himself. I'm literally nowhere. It must have been my imagination. I wish I could see. As he thought, more drops started falling onto his head faster and faster. It became a trickle, then a spurt, and before long waterfalls were falling onto him and drenching him. Curious, he touched some of the liquid to his tongue. It tasted salty. The world opened its arms to him. Now we're ripping off the Pokemon movie.
And Kate, like, broke something.
Penny, what are you doing? Hold on a sec.
Something more interesting. Without warning, a torrent of water exploded into sight on top of the meeting table, drenching all of the League members and washing Blinko's memorial out of sight. We screamed as the geyser of water continued, threatening to fill the entire room. It only began to trickle to a stop after it was ankle-deep around us. What happened? Did a pipe burst or something? Clyde, was this your doing? A prank on Blinko's Memorial Day? I scowled at him. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. No. Honestly, I didn't do it. I'd never disgrace Blinko's memory. Look! Our gaze followed his pointing finger to the top of the meeting table. There Blinko lay with his eyes closed. We held our breath. But Blinko, it can't be. Mike sloshed forward through the water. And placed his hand on Blinko's chest just to make sure he was real. It is him. Oh, Blinko! He wrapped his arms around Blinko's neck. Mike, is that you? Blinko opened his eyes to blurry vision. As his eyes began to clear, he made out our shapes hovering above him. Guys, you're all here! He spotted the memorial wreath floating in the pool of water. And you're having my memorial service. Oh, that's nice.
What?
It's good to have you back. Can't read. I just started reading and I can't even read this freaking book. It's good to have you back, Blinko. Matt put a hand around his shoulder. We really thought you were a goner there. I'm still trying to process exactly what just happened, but in the long run it isn't important as long as you're back with us. Aye, without you we were starting to lose hope, comrade. Julian, the suddenly Soviet Russian cat, hopped up on the table to get us out of the water. Yeah. After all, who but you could ever lead us? You are our friend and the best of us. Cheers for the great Blinko. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray. Hip hip hooray. Alright, this is great and all, said Clyde as he looked up at Blinko. I'm happy that Blinko is back, but would somebody mind explaining why there's salt water all over the floor? And in caps.
Oh no. Why?
Blinko peered down into the water. I don't know. All I remember is being here in the dark, then feeling water on my head, and I was here. Our tears, I said solemnly. Our tears today. Don't all of you understand? That's what the salt water is. Our tears. We were crying for Blinko to come back, and our love and sadness did it. Oh, come on. Clyde looked up at the author. How cliche can you get? Our tears. This story is rebelling against you. Oh my gosh. Looked up at the author. How cliche can you get? Our tears brought him back to us. What a loser. Hey now, I think it's nice. Now stop breaking the fourth wall and get back in there so we can continue with the story.
Gosh.
What? But it's so lame. I can already hear the collective groaning. When your story starts talking to you, you listen. Dang it. But it's so lame. I can already hear the collective groaning of your readers who saw the Pokemon movie. Clyde crossed his arms. I'm not going back in until you decide to make it cooler and make me bigger and stronger too. I'm tired of being a shrimp. Ugh, look, I'm not changing it. I'm the author here, so live with it. Remember, I have ultimate power
Why
here.
is this a
I have the
thing?
ability. Exactly! Exactly! Look at it!
Name drop.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
just. Where is it? Italics, yeah. It's just.
This is for real.
This
Unbelievable.
is the real thing. I don't know how to end the book, so I'm just gonna break the fourth wall because. Ugh. I have ultimate power here. I have the ability to do whatever I want you to. So, the first part of the book was a metaphor for prison rape, and the last part of the book is a metaphor for God and religion. Why? How? Why even? Change it. No. Change it or I'll hold my breath until you do. Be my guest. Fine. He took a deep breath and held it, feeling all right. Clyde's face began to turn blue. Suddenly, Clyde decided to be good and returned to the story.
And
Clyde released his breath. Literally, that's the whole exchange right there.
wow.
Didn't South Park do this and make it actually decent or something? I mean, it was vulgar as hell, but I mean, at least they did it well. Suddenly, Clyde decided and returned to the story. Clyde released his breath with a large gasp. Hey, you can't just write what you want me to do and expect me to do it. I'm not going. I'm not going. Just no punctuation. Punctuation, missing a G. Just, I'm not going. In that case, I might just decide to tell our good readers what you're hiding under your bed.
This is still going.
Huh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not hiding anything. Clyde turned his back from me. From who? Oh, really? You mean you aren't hiding a big yellow... All right, yelled Clyde. I'll go back to the dumb cliche-ridden story. Just be quiet. And don't blame me when your readers show up and beat your own cliches over your head. Thank you.
Steph
I'm
just hang
sorry.
up for all of you who can't see.
Sorry. I let my keyboard. I let the book drop on my keyboard, and Skip was just like.
Oh, I thought you like slammed it and rage quit or something.
I should have, man. That's just it's just like the author just gave up. The author just gave up, and the story is still going somehow. We still have pages. Ugh. It's like I just buffered and disconnected. Like the Wi-Fi was not connecting to my brain. That night, Blinko spent the evening with Trudy. He seemed off-putting toward Mike and myself. Honey, are you all right? Trudy and Blinko were curled up on the couch. I know, right? When someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. When your characters turn around and start talking to you, you listen. Trudy and Blinko were curled up on the couch watching a soppy romance movie. The romance movie was also wet. On the screen, the movie's main couple shared a tender kiss. And don't tell me a story. I know you would never lie to me. It's just something happened to me in that world. Something I'd rather not talk about. Besides, it might frighten you. Blinko turned his head away. Blinko, whatever it is, if you don't tell me, I'll just imagine something worse. I'd really rather get it out into the open. Trudy snuggled against his neck. Yeah, I know first, alright? Well, okay, the thing is, I've never really known who my original creator was. He was an idiot on DeviantArt who doesn't know the difference between a sub and a dub and Dragon Ball. And Animaniacs, because it's a mystery that has eaten away at me for as long as I can remember. He couldn't have been a very good person because he created Blinko inside of me. Blinko paused. I wasn't created to be a hero, Trudy. I only became one after I purged Blinko from my body. Before that, I was so confused I didn't know what my purpose was. Anytime I would try and make a friend or get to know anybody, I would end up hurting them somehow. I didn't know how to control myself, and I was a total wreck. Eventually, other toons would just see me coming and run. So that is what led me to fly as far away from the earth as I could. I couldn't stand the loneliness, though, the utter heartbreak. It was driving me insane. I began to meditate regularly to find the inner peace within myself. As I did this, I unknowingly separated Bligo from myself. I opened my eyes and he stood in front of me. If I'd known then what I know now, would I have done the same thing? Probably, but who's to know? That was my first battle with him, my dark side. I know, right? And from that day forth, I had control of myself. I came back to Earth thinking I'd rid myself of Bligo forever, but I still never knew who my creator was. That secret has haunted me every day of my life. You're not Feeger! My gosh, why do you care? Oh, Blinko, I wish you had mentioned this before. Trudy kissed his cheek, having to live with such an awful mystery. It must have been horrible, but what does any of this have to do with now? Because I found out who my creator was.
What?
It was a quiet night back at the apartment. Both Mike and I were thrilled that Blinko was alive, but we were worried. He hadn't spoken to us, and had... I knew! He hadn't spoken much to us and had flown away the first chance that he'd got. Mike was jittery, too. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I peered into his lab. Mike, I heard a tremendous clatter as tools hit the floor. What happened? Are you okay? Oh, okay, sure, I'm fine. I was just tightening some bolts here. You just startled me. I thought you might have been Blinko. Blinko? Why would Blinko startle you? I mean, sure he wasn't very friendly when he came back, but he's been through a lot. I'm sure he's tired. Let me see, yeah, that's pretty accurate. Right, tired. Well, I'm going to bed and get some rest too. Night. Mike gently closed the door, and I saw the lights go out underneath. Right, well, good night to you too. Something was bothering Blinko and Mike, but I couldn't figure out what. I returned to my own lab and absent-mindedly turned a few screws. My mind wasn't on my work, and I didn't notice that I was taking my invention apart rather than putting it together. 'Cause I'm stupid. The sound of a screw hitting the floor jerked me back to my senses. What was the matter with them? Nothing was making any sense. Alex, gum. Moose hopped down from his stool and stood beside me. You usually don't work so badly. I think that machine will work better if you tighten those screws instead of loosening them. I don't know, Gum. I guess I just have my mind on other things. Don't mind me. In his lab, Mike lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Could Blinko know? He knew Blinko knew, but so far he had never mentioned it to Blinko. Dell appeared beside him. I sensed much higher levels of stress in you than is customary. Is something bothering you, Dad? No, Dell, it's all right. I just need to rest for a bit. It's been a hard day, you know. Mike turned on his side, facing away from her. Well, if you say so. But remember, I'm always here if you need someone to talk to, and so is Alex. We are all your family, Dell. Yeah, Dad? Thanks. Blinko floated through the empty void, as without any control. There was nothing as far as the eye could see. Blinko was literally nowhere, in the empty realm created after Blinko's world shattered. It wasn't particularly frightening. In fact, Blinko would have preferred frightening. This was the absence of anything, except Blinko, of course. In short, it was dull. Extremely and horrifyingly dull. Yeah, that sums up this book pretty well. Dullness is a nightmare for a toon, a creature created to fill the void of dullness. With nobody to talk to or make laugh, Blinko sighed. It was then that the purple mist shot at him. Purple mist. It was easy to see coming at him from a long way away. In all this nothingness, the purple mist stood out like an elephant in a candy store.
What?
In all this nothingness, the purple mist stood out like an elephant in a candy store. Elephant in a candy store. As the mist came closer, Blinko could see that it was indeed Blinko. He was transparent and had been transformed into a purple blob of mist.
Okay.
because purple. But Blinko could sense the evil inside of him. Blinko. So you're trapped here for eternity also, Blinko's voice came out of the mist in a rasping whisper. I hope you're happy. Now neither one of us can ever return. We're stuck with each other fitting. That's how we began life as well. Blinko could tell that Blinko was incredibly weak. He didn't even have a corporeal body. He doubted that this powerless scoundrel was any danger to him now. You stay away from me, Blinko, he growled. If I have to spend eternity here, I'd rather just spend it talking to myself than to you. Go away. Oh, but Blinko, don't you want to talk for a bit? After all, what can I do to you? I'm so weak. I am so weak. And it's not capitalized. Where is it? Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So weak. Yes, illusionary, yes. Ugh. I am so weak that one stray punch from you would be enough to end me forever. I'm nothing more than a gas. Bubble of wickedness floating through nowhere to nowhere. Surely you can spare a few minutes with little old me. I am you, after all, brother. You aren't me. You'll never be me. I've always striven to help. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, see me after class. Yeah, I've always striven to help people, Blinko. Even before I got rid of you, I didn't want to hurt anybody. I just did. I don't want you, Blinko, and I never did. No matter what it is you have to say, I don't want to hear it. Oh, really? I don't believe that for a moment, Blinko. Not for one moment. You are afraid. You are afraid that I might tell you something you don't want to hear. Something about your precious friends. Despite himself, Blinko turned an ear toward the evil mist. Ah, that's what I thought. You are interested. It seems to me that you are the liar here. Do not resist. Allow me to calm all of the facets of your questioning mind. You've never liked the fact that our creator has been absent in our lives. Our artist, if you will. The fellow that originally drew us and drew us together. Whatever this is, I don't need to hear it, said Blinko, but he secretly did hope that Blinko would continue. Oh, but you do. You see, when we were born, I had a unique perspective inside you. While you were panicking from your first birth throes in this world. First birth throes.
Oh my goodness.
Birth throes. I remained calm. Well, you never saw the face of our dear artist. I did. I saw everything. He created you and fled from the room in fright. And it was only a few years later that fate brought the two of you back together. No, you're lying. I refuse to listen to this anymore. You're lying. Blinko attempted to swim away from the monster, but all he managed to do was flail around uselessly in the dark. I was watching, weak and frail, on that day they arrived at the train station. I dared not go after them. It would have meant my destruction, surely. I was so weak that even a normal human could have killed me. So I watched and waited. Deny it all you like, you worthless do-gooder, but it will do you no good. You know it in your heart to be true. You did not just say that. You know it in your heart to be true. The one that created both of us is your brother, Michael! Insert all of the reactions to plot twists here. And now. And ponies. And all of the shooping. In Trudy's arms, Blinko awoke in a cold sweat. End chapter 10.
Oh my gosh.
Chapter 11. Blinko jumped awake on the couch beside Trudy. Yes. Nice. He was sweating terribly and his hands were shaking. The nightmare had really shaken him up. He remembered back to that terrible time in the void when Blinko had told him what happened. We just come back from a commercial break? You
Yeah.
just said that. How could it be true? How could Mike be the one that created him with such an evil being inside? Because he's an asshole! Very gently, he slipped away from Trudy. She remained fast asleep on the couch, hugging a pillow in place of Blinko. Because Blinko was so devoid of personality, a pillow would substitute for him. He stared at her. She looked so peaceful. He considered leaving through the front door, but then began to worry that he might wake her up, so he crept out the window and shut it behind him. It was a very wet and muggy night. He looked at the wristwatch on his arm. It was around 3 in the morning. Well, at least nobody will bother me, he said to himself. He took off from the lawn and stopped on the roof of a building in the center of the city. He went inside for a moment and then left, up and away from the city. It looked like a small jewel from up there, a perfect crystal semicircle of clear light. Blinko stared down at his home for a few moments and then took off toward the stars. He needed time to think. He needed time to figure out what he was going to do. To think that all this time his best friend was his maker. It was breaking his heart. It was tearing him apart. He sped onward toward the black hole. The stars were beautiful out here. Without any light from Earth to cloud them, they sparkled in 10 million directions at once. He wondered what it would be like to join them. Michael awoke in his lab, having fallen asleep on his workbench. Fear suddenly filled his body. He felt something sticking to his forehead. He yanked the wrench off of his head and looked around. That's not late. Yeah. The clock on the wall read nearly 3 a.m. He had been having such a terrible dream, though he couldn't remember it at the moment. There had been something about a black hole, something he couldn't fathom. It was either too much for his mind to handle, ding, or he had woken too fast. Slowly and achingly, he climbed up from his workbench and stepped out into the rest of the apartment. It was deathly quiet at this hour. He still had a feeling of terrible foreboding. His head ached, and he went into the kitchen for a glass of water. It was then that Mike saw the note on the counter. It was pinned underneath a small anvil paperweight so it wouldn't blow away. Fearfully, he read the piece of paper. 1 minute later, he was in the air. Yes, this book. Blinko stared into the depths of this book. Well, if this is how it's going to be, let it be. He stopped fighting against the pull of the blackness and felt himself being pulled forward. I hope Trudy can forgive me. Come to me, Infinity. Latch on to me with your quiet embrace. But before he went much further, he felt his arms being gripped on both sides. His head snapped up, and he saw both Mike and Alex pulling him away from the imploded star. They looked quite unhappy. Once they were a safe distance away, Mike stopped and pulled the note out of his pocket. What is the meaning of this? Why would you do something so stupid? Blinko glared at him. Why didn't you tell me the truth? The truth? What's he talking about, Mike? I looked from Mike to Blinko curiously. Mike couldn't meet his gaze, because it was a long time ago, and I wasn't even sure myself. That night was so frightening and cold. I didn't even know I had the power. Yeah. I ran away because I didn't know what was happening. You have to understand, that day I was taking a tour of Colosso's studios. I bent down to tie my shoe, and when I looked up, the tour group was gone. In a panic, I raced through the halls looking for them. An open door caught my eye, and I went inside for a closer look. Inside was an artist's easel and pencils. So you just started drawing. Blinko still couldn't meet his eyes. I did. Nobody was around, so I just started drawing, doodling. And you came out, literally. None of my drawings had ever come to life before. And then you did. You pushed out of the paper. What was I to think? I ran from the room so quickly, I never did get a good look at your face. That's why I wasn't sure if the tune I created that day was really you.
Did you come in? She's driving me crazy. She said you're whining that you
She won't want to be in here for too long.
And Blinko, said Blinko gruffly. I don't know. Yes. Oh, God, Motsu. Self-insert. Oh, gosh. And Panya is meowing. That's also what's going on. That's much more. And Blinko said Blinko gruffly, "Are you responsible for unleashing him onto the world too?" "Well, I suppose I am. I inadvertently created him when I drew you, but I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, Blinko, I wanted to tell you so many times. I was just frightened that you'd react the way you just did, that you wouldn't understand. I'll understand if you never want to see me again. Please don't throw yourself into a vortex just for that." Blinko remained silent. He thought about everything that they had been through together. How they had stopped so many heartless creatures. Why was he fighting it? If anything, this just brought them closer together as creator and creation. He looked up at Mike and his frown faded. What kind of tune would I be if I rejected the kindness of the very guy that brought me to life? I've been such a fool. No, you haven't, Blink. I should have told you a long time ago. Still brothers? Mike held out his hand. Of course, Blinko tackled Mike and noogied his head. Guys, I'm so glad you both made up. Big group hug. Alex hugged both of them tightly. Then they began the flight back home slowly and without hurry. Oh gosh. Yeah, probably. Blinko elbowed Mike in the ribs gently, speaking of which. Hey, what am I supposed to call you now? Father, brother? Ha 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 ha. Actual speaking of. And yeah, that's actually.
I'm surprised it's not capitalized.
I don't know. They went home. There is no rest for the wicked. What are we even doing? Not in this time, nor in times past or future. Wicked people live on. Well, that's a good question, Aragon. That's a good freaking question. That works too. And basically everything Evan is photoshopped. The Cliff Notes version. Wicked people live on, and that is why we exist. What? We exist to fight against those that would harm us and our loved ones. Terrible darkness will always be, but so will there be light. Even after Earth is gone and all the memories and events of our world have been completed, there will still be the everlasting darkness of space and the irrepressible light of the stars fighting back against them. It is a never-ending battle and a fight that can never completely be won. But we can try. We can try with every fiber of our being to fight the good fight. I feel like I'm watching Bible Man again. In a book. Fight the good fight for faith. To live as morally and kindly as we can. Oh my gosh. After all, what is a superhero but a modern day knight in shining armor, and what of those ferocious beasts of myth that knights wage battle against? Fire-breathing dragons still exist. We modern day knights fight the worst dragons of all, the dragons of the heart.
Oh my gosh.
Blackthorn and Rancor just barely escaped from the collapsing world with their lives. They were beaten and broken, halfway to death from their experiences, though Rancor was beginning to miss Blinko. It wasn't that he particularly enjoyed having the murderous monster around, but ever since he had pledged his loyalty to Blackthorn, he had been treated like a servant. Fetch me a drink of water, Rancor. I'm feeling a tad bit thirsty. In his lab, Blackthorn propped his feet up on a cushion while tinkering with a small invention in his hands. Grumbling, Rancor went into the kitchen and filled a glass of water from the tap. His eyes rested for a moment on a bag of rat poison in a cupboard. He wondered if Blackthorn would notice. Just a few sprinkles, and Blackthorn would be out of his life forever. Ow! It's got dark. But he was a rat himself, and even rats have to draw the line somewhere. Grumbling louder, he took Blackthorn's drink out to him. Blackthorn took the glass and drank deeply from it. His eyes grew wide, and he spit out the water all over Rancor. You idiot! I wanted soda water, not tap water. Furiously, he threw the water all over Rancor and then tossed the glass at his head for good measure. The water drenched Rancor, but the glass flew over his head and shattered against the wall. What's the big idea, you old geezer? That could have hurt me. He grabbed Blackthorn by the lab coat and yanked him close. Blackthorn could smell rancid cheese in the big rat's breath. 'Cause he's a rat. Calm yourself, Rancor, calm yourself, or do you intend on killing me right now? Because I assure you, you would have nothing then. Both of your previous employers, Scripona and Bleeko, are out of service now. What would a worthless nothing minion like you do without a boss? You would be out on the street. You couldn't do so much as rob a convenience store without my help. You are incompetent, lazy, and stupid. Am I reading like a deleted scene? What the crap? Whatever, old man. Just ease up on me. I'm trying to be a good minion for you. Rancor bit back on his desire to maul the old man. Deep down he knew what he said was true. Without a leader, there was nothing. Good. Blackthorn straightened his lab coat. Now then, if you'll just step this way, I'll be perfectly happy to tell you what I've been working on. He punched in a number on a keypad beside an enormous metal door. The door whished open, and freezing steam poured out. Freezing steam.
Freezing Steve?
You mean like dry ice? I've been keeping something in here, something I'm sure you'll be most amazed with. Forgive me for keeping the room so cold. I found that in its current state, he can't live above 0 degrees. Behold! Whoa, Disney! The thick fog of the room parted, and Rancor saw an enormous porous globe in the center of the room. The top of the globe nearly touched the ceiling, and a thick, dark, purple gas swirled within.
Oh, gosh.
What in the world is that? Rancor scratched his head. It looks like... Violently, his head began to pound and vibrate. His head felt like it was going to explode. Rancor cried out and gripped the top of his head. His vision blurred and he fell to his knees. Stop that this instant, Bleeko. Blackthorn rapped his cane lightly against the side of the globe. If you kill him, I'll simply raise the temperature in this room and kill you. That is a promise. The pounding in Rancor's head slowed and stopped. He climbed to his feet and looked at the purple gas inside the globe. That's Bleeko? But that's impossible. You can't be serious, Blackie. You gotta get rid of him right now. He ran for the door, but Blackthorn was too quick for him and tripped him up with his cane. Rancor landed on his stomach and got the wind knocked out of him. No, Rancor, can't you see the power we can gain from him? He's weak now. He doesn't even have a body. We have to do is keep him here and make sure he doesn't start getting stronger. If I can figure out a way to harness his energy, we could destroy those idiot heroes all by ourselves. Picture yourself with all of Bleeko's power. Feel the strength coursing through your veins. Your hands on Bleeko's throat, squeezing the life out of him. We could do it, but we need Bleeko's spirit to go through with our plans. Rancor rubbed his head, still unsure. I don't know, Blackie. What is her calling him? Bleeko is awfully unpredictable. What if he's just using you to revive himself? Blackthorn frowned at him. Because, my delinquent friend, I am a genius. I would know if we were in any danger at all. Big Rat looked over at the purple gas inside the globe. Was it his imagination, or was that thing laughing at him? He cursed under his breath and followed Blackthorn out of the lab. That ignorant old fossil, what did he think he was doing? How could he possibly hope to control something like Bleeko? It would all end in ruin, and he would end up taking most of the brunt. He ought to just pack up whatever meager possessions he had and leave as soon as possible. But he couldn't do that. Nothing, really, Tara. Yeah. Deep down, he knew what he was at heart. At heart, he was a scoundrel. A minion, a toadying soldier that couldn't live on his own. Sure, he might be able to pull off a few small-time robberies by himself, but underneath it all, he was a minion. I'm just imagining, like, the Despicable Me minion just being in a giant rat suit. He liked being a minion. What was he to do? Rancor sighed. All right, Blackie. I gave in, but what are we going to do about those rotten heroes? We got to take them out somehow. Patience, my friend. Patience. Blackthorn leered at him. All in good time. Behind them, the gas burbled. On Lobosia, a grand ceremony was taking place. In accordance with the laws and traditions passed down through the ages, Mike and Lunaria were being wed. The entire league was in attendance for the momentous occasion, decked out in our finest attire. Even young Theodore was there. He had grown quite chummy with the league ever since his rescue. We now looked on him as almost like a mascot. He stood in front of me and in between Matt and Sammy. We were starting to get somewhat worried, though. Though as king, Mike could start the ceremony whenever he wanted, he still needed to be there for the ceremony. He was slightly less there at the moment. In the sense that nobody could find him. Ha, jeered Clyde. I bet the big fleabag chickened out. He was so ready to marry this Lunaria dame, and now he's run away. Some king he turned out to be, afraid of a woman. Clyde, don't make me hurt you. I glared so fearsomely at him that he shut his mouth. It's just cold feet. I'm sure. Maybe one of us should go look for him? Alex, you're the one that knows him best, said Sammy. I think it should be you. If you can't find him, I doubt any of us could. Sonny nodded. And you better hurry. Lunaria is waiting patiently, but she won't wait forever. Not even a would-be queen can wait forever. I returned her nod and left the throne room. Down the stairs and out the front gates I searched. I searched high and low, but could find no sign of him. I even tried searching for his energy levels, but I could feel nothing. That's when I began to worry. If I couldn't find his energy, then perhaps he wasn't even on Lobosia. Where could he be?
He's on the planet Namek.
He wouldn't just leave Lunaria standing at the altar. Mike wasn't like that at all. Except when he was... I closed my eyes and teleported myself back to Earth. Standing in the middle of the apartment, I searched for his energy again. Huh? Curiously, I walked into the kitchen and opened a broom closet. Hello there. Mike was standing stock still, apparently pretending to be a broom.
What?
Mike was standing stock still, apparently pretending to be a broom.
Okay.
You know, I'd expect this sort of thing from me, but not you, Mike. Yes, I know you aren't a broom. Come out of... Mike sighed and stepped out of the closet. He was already wearing his royal wedding clothes. Frowning, he sat down on the couch and sighed again. You found me. I knew you would. I'm so ashamed in myself. Ashamed in myself. Ashamed in myself.
Wow.
I sat down beside him. Why did you leave Lobosia, Mike? Come on, man. You can talk to me. After everything we've been through, this should be easy for you. Easy? You think the idea of getting married is easy? I'm afraid that maybe Lunaria is too good for me. What did I do to deserve such a beautiful queen? Mike took a sip of water from a glass. What if she's only marrying me because I'm king? Mike, listen to me. You are a wonderful guy. Any girl, especially Lunaria, would be lucky to have you. And trust me, I've seen the way she looks at you. I wish I could find somebody that would look at me like that.
No.
She would love you even if you had no powers at all and were a poor peasant. Mike looked up. I know, I'm just being silly. Maybe this whole thing is just cold feet. Everybody gets them right before they get married. Is she terribly worried about me right now? Well, what do you think? You're supposed to be getting married right now, and you aren't even on the same planet as your bride. You need to get back before she goes from worried to angry. I don't think you'll like her when she's angry. You're right, Alex, Mike nodded happily. I'm feeling much better now. Let's go. The translation by Firestar, thank you. The entire throne room had been decked out in silver and satin. The palace looked even more glorious than usual. Hundreds of privileged Lobosians sat in the wings and balconies of the throne room to witness the wedding of their bright king. Mike and Lunaria stood before a royal minister decked out in the most regal clothing on the planet. Mike wore his royal robes, and underneath the ceremonial smock decorated with pictures commemorating all of the past kings that had reigned. On his head he wore a special crown just for the occasion. It was heavier than his normal crown and twice as tall, but traditional ceremony dictated that he wear it. Okay. Lunaria's clothing was a bit different. It was traditional for Lobosian queens to practice modesty as much as possible. Tradition called for her to wear a simple brown, square-shaped smock over her shoulders that draped down to her ankles. The smock had the word Queen printed on the front of it in large block letters.
What?
I'm not kidding you. That's what it says.
Oh, camera off, focus. Yeah.
Tradition also called for her to wear a satin hood over her head and squawk like a bird when the ceremony was complete.
What is this?
You what, mate?
Dude. I know it's your book, it's your thing, but what? This just goes to show you that there are ancient traditions on all worlds that can be thought of as blindingly stupid, because traditions are stupid. Needless to say, she did not wear any of these things. Okay. She had taken one look at the outfit she was expected to wear and then given a very simple answer. It is not printable here, however, I am afraid. No, she wore a warrior's garb. A metal breastplate was wrapped around her chest, and chainmail covered the rest of her body, though she had converted the satin hood into a smaller satin bridal veil.
Not so much better.
The plot imploded on itself, literally, and then somehow became an eldritch abomination. Yeah, it's like, screw tradition. I want to dress like Princess Leia's called the king. Because that's just how I roll. The minister spoke thusly. And so, in the traditions of all the great kings and queens of Lobosia, except not because little traditions are stupid, and in the presence of the world, I hereby pronounce you both king and queen, husband and wife. You may now howl at the Lobosian moon. Is that a metaphor? The throne room erupted into cries of delight as the citizens of Lobosia all howled into the night sky at once. Fireworks flew into the sky and painted brilliant pictures across the heavens. Mike and Lunaria raced outside, past the gathered cheering crowd, and into an awaiting silver carriage. It was truly a fairy tale wedding, only on an alien planet with wolf humanoids. Literally, that's what it says. It's like a fairy tale wedding. It's truly a fairy tale wedding, only on an alien planet with wolf humanoids.
Gosh.
If you just Skyped like with Brian or something, just telling him about how you beat the race modes in Mario Kart DS, that would still be more worthy of print than this entire book. Yes, Firestar, yes. All of the cocaine-tium.
Cocaine-tium.
And somewhere a baby cries. The League watched as the carriage took Mike and his new bride out and over a hill. They were out of sight. The carriage was taking them to the Lobosian Spring Palace for their honeymoon. They were due back in only a few days. We did hope nothing too evil would strike in the meantime. It was not easy, the life of a superhero. You can't just suddenly decide to take a vacation when you want it. You can't just hand the citizens of your city a slip and tell them to take care of themselves for a week. It didn't work that way. The world might not be there when you got back. Even on Lobosia, we had to keep a constant eye on our home. The forces of darkness didn't take a holiday either. Clyde and Gum Gum were helping me work on my greatest invention. It was a portal through, when completed, would transport us to far distant worlds. Dude, you're not Stargate. I thought you guys already had a portalizer. Aperture's gonna sue. Yes! For all of the craziness of the Zelda universe, everybody's there is going like, dude, this is dumb. Didn't I say port? Yeah. Anyway, nah. Yeah. Not just worlds in our own universe, but alternate universes too. I've been long fascinated by multiverse theory, capital multi, dash, lowercase verse theory, but could never get the machine just right. I probably should have been wary of Clyde's involvement, but he had been behaving lately, so I let him help out. In the absence of Mike, I thought I'd try to get some work done on it. Multiverse theory is terribly complex, but in layman's terms means that for every action and event in our own universe, a different and separate universe is created and branches out like a tree. In one universe, our own, we were all healthy and able. Mike was gone for a few days on his honeymoon, but all was right with the world. But take the universe next door, for example. Please. Perhaps in that universe, we'd never beaten Bleeko. He had succeeded in his power-hungry quest to destroy us in that world. In that universe, nothing was right. But of course, these were all just theories. If I could make this machine work, just think of all the amazing and miraculous worlds we could uncover. You're cracked, said Clyde as he turned a wrench. Nothing truer has been said in this story. So this thing is never going to work. That multiverse mumbo-jumbo... Whatever happened there, I didn't see it, I didn't play it, but whatever happened there, I'm sure it was light years beyond this. That multiverse mumbo jumbo is all a bunch of hooey. What do you think's going to happen? Thinks with random apostrophe there.
Oh, wow.
You think, Superman, you saved me.
Oh, come on. Focus, get ready. Thinks is going to happen. That we're going to finish this invention and then go riding off through all the multiverse? Not a chance. Nah, I shook my head. I suppose I don't really believe it will get it to work. It's just something to help pass the time while Mike is away. I wonder what he's doing right now, Clyde chortled. I bet he's getting some major clunk. I smacked the wrench against his head. Ow, hey, I knew what you were going to say. Watch it, and be careful with that wrench. You're tightening that bolt too much. You don't want to break it. Yeah, because they're probably kissing. Because the author couldn't possibly comprehend sex because his brain is still frozen in the state when girls have cooties and I knew. I sat down at the machine and attempted to type a few words into the command screen. Because of course it's got a command screen. At least that part worked. It lit up, and I could type whatever command I wanted into it. The only problem was that it didn't do anything past that. The huge circular portal in the center of the machine stayed dead. More interesting than this book. Maybe Clyde was right for once. I had spent days and weeks on this machine, just in my spare time, but nothing I did worked. Perhaps multiverse theory was bunk. Moosh came into the lab carrying snacks and drinks on a tray. He placed the tray onto a nearby table and then joined Clyde in working. Hey, peanut butter and jelly, my favorite. Clyde grabbed one of the sandwiches from the tray. Be careful, Clyde. Don't get peanut butter and jelly all in the gears and wires when you're done, I warned him with a meaningful glance. Don't worry, dude, I'm always careful. With that, Clyde bit into a sandwich, and with a mighty chomp, a blob of peanut butter and jelly squirted from the sandwich and flew through the air, landing right on the core of the machine.
It's dino time.
Oh, gosh. Even that is better than this. For all of its faults, even that is better than this. This league's better than this. Clyde, what did I just get done telling you? You ruined it. Now it'll never... With a low whining sound, the center of the port... It is dino time. God. And they're going to carve a
message from the past.
Yeah, saying you have to put peanut butter and jelly on it, except there's no peanut butter and jelly in prehistoric time. I'll never... How did you do that? I scratched my head. The secret to interdimensional travel is peanut butter and jelly? Why not? What? Ha, I bet I knew it the whole time, said Clyde mockingly. Bet you're impressed with me now. I got your impossible invention to work when you couldn't. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. Clyde, maybe we can find a world of very pointy objects and leave you there. That is the
Well then, okay.
Anybody has said in this book. Like I said, Clyde gulped loudly. Way to go, man. You got it working. Yeah, but maybe we should wait for Mike to get back. This could be dangerous after all. And we might need all the help we can get. I walked in a circle around the machine, looking at every angle. What was I afraid of? It was my invention. Surely I could handle it myself. Dude, or what are you, a wimp? Clyde stood up on the chair and pointed a finger in my face. You can't do anything without Mike. You're scared to go out on an adventure without your brother. Hey, I am not. Cut it out. It could be dangerous. That's all. We don't know where we're going. Blah, blah, blah. Just cut the chit-chat. Clyde tackled me and we fell through the portal and into the next chapter. Wah, wah, wah. Oh, gosh. Yep, that's pretty much... That is so it. And there's the author. None the more out of place. Oh, my God. Everything.
Yeah, we're doing this.
Chapter 12. Dark worlds are born from a dark imagination.
Dark
Places
world?
where man was not meant to dwell. There are things that you can possibly imagine. Things without shape or form. Things with more tentacles than arms or legs. Terrifying me. If we had known where we were going, we would have never entered that blasted portal. The lab was a dark wreck. Smashed tables and broken glass beakers were strewn around the room like so much worthless jetsam. But it was instantly recognizable. This was my lab. Who could have done this? Even I'm not this destructive, said Clyde in a hushed voice. It took a lot to hush Clyde. I tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Either locked or rusted from years of disuse. It wouldn't open by conventional means. I heard a whispering, tortured voice on the other side of the metal hatch. Leave us, leave us, leave us. Hey, it's Chet. Someone's on the other side of that door. Come on, use that dragon muscle, Clyde said, mimicking the smashing of the door. I nodded and brought my fist back, knocking the filthy, rusting door off its hinges, and what we saw next made us violently ill. The other side was, of course, our apartment, but only its basic shape remained. Gone were the comfortable furnishings. Gone was everything pleasant about it. Instead of wide glass windows facing out into the city below, there were rusty metal bars. The floor and ceiling were rusty grates with something very organic dripping from them, and the walls are better left not described. The smell was like taking a dead whale and fermenting it for a year or so in a vat of sewage.
Thank you for that.
Again, the book provides endless opportunities for self-description. It made us both gag. I say, do you think you chaps could give us a hand over here? We turned around quickly and saw both Blackthorn and Rancor sitting against the grating on the wall with their hands in chains. They looked malnourished and not well at all. Rancor seemed to be staring around the room in a bemused way that suggested his mind was not all there. What are you two doing here? We're not falling for one of your evil tricks, shouted Clyde with crossed arms. If somebody chained you up, it was obviously for a good reason. You do not understand, said the old man in a pained voice. I am not who you think I am, and you are in terrible danger. There was something strange about the old man's voice. He didn't have that wicked inflection that Blackthorn had. His eyes were softer, and he didn't have Blackthorn's unnaturally pale skin. I got down on one knee and broke the chains apart with my hands. What are you doing? Said Clyde incredulously. You're freeing the enemy. I don't think this is the enemy, Clyde. There's something different about them. I smiled at them as they rose to their feet. Indeed, I know all about you, young man. I've been studying you through my own portal for some time. I am Professor Lighthorn.
Oh
Professor
boy.
Lighthorn.
Professor Lightsworn?
At your service. And this was clemency. I'm afraid he's not in much of a state for conversation right now. Clemency! Ha 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 ha! Clyde clutched his stomach and laughed loudly. His name is Clemency? What a dorky name. Why am I thinking the author went into the thesaurus.com and looked up antonyms for rancor? What a dorky name. Clyde, I cuffed him around the ear. Behave. You come from the world of light, do you not? Oh, no, you are not Zelda. Do not do this, said Lighthorn consciously. You must be careful here. Oh gosh, Tara, why? You must be careful here. Everything is not what it seems. This has been a terrible world ever since the heroes came. Heroes? What's so bad about the heroes? I happened to be I started to say, but Lighthorn cut me off. No, you misunderstand. When I say heroes, I mean the league that keeps us under constant surveillance. They are terribly wicked. We must not talk here. The blood wolf and the stone dragon could return at any moment. Lighthorn's eyes something. Yeah, where's this guy window? Lighthorn's eyes.
Oh gosh.
Eyes. Grew wide as he stared out of the barred windows.
Why, yes, I have.
Stared out of the barred windows. Hurry, get us out of here before we could move. A slithering voice wrapped itself around my neck. A slithering voice wrapped itself around my neck. Oh, you aren't going anywhere, gentlemen. Why would you want to leave? You just got here. The voice was coming from two ugly creatures that had just flown into the window, despite there being bars on it. One was a blood-red dragon with a voice like silk being sliced over a razor blade.
Wow.
Blood-red dragon with a voice like silk being sliced over a razor blade. And the other was a fierce wolf humanoid with black fur and red eyes. He had his teeth snarling at us. Maybe this is a bad time to mention it, but I'm feeling awfully sick. Could I have a hall pass? I grinned laboriously. Crickets. Why, of course, all you had to do was ask, said the redstone dragon pleasantly. Really? Of course not. We're going to devour you. Actual book text. I don't know why I feel like I need to fill this out. Thought so. Hang on, you guys. Dragon energy ball. I formed a tight ball of energy in my hands and blew a hole in the wall beside us. Pieces of dirty, broken plaster rained down in the city below. Beats don't fail me now. I grabbed Clyde, Lighthorn, and Clemency in my arms and dashed out of the hole. I was expecting the wolf and dragon to give chase, but they didn't. We flew out over the ruined, dead city. Why aren't we following them? Growled the wolf. They're getting away. Patience, my furred friend, patience, purred the dragon. You know nothing can hide from the wrath of Bliko for long. He should be along any minute. He just went to discipline some revolting revolutionaries in the outskirts of Bliko City. We will feast on them in no time. This is like, it's like that, you know, you already beat the Elite Four, and now this is just like the afterword. Like, bonus material. We sat in Lighthorn's underground bunker, hidden away from the world. He'd given us cups of cocoa with little marshmallow bits in it. It was quite tasty, but still, I knew I had to say something. That was me, wasn't it? I asked without looking into his face. That was me and Mike. In a manner of speaking, yes, it was you. Or rather, how you might have turned out if things had been drastically different in your world. Lighthorn stood up and walked over to his computer, beeping quietly to itself against the wall. First off, proper introductions. As I said before, my name is Professor Lighthorn. I used to be a professor anyway, before they came. I was working at CP University when the skies grew dark. The windows shattered. We thought it was the end of the world. But perhaps the end of the world could have been better. They came swooping out of the sky like monsters, destroying whatever they pleased. The police were sent out, the military was sent out, but nothing worked on them. They became rulers to us, if not gods. The ones you two met, Stone Dragon and Black Wolf, are two of the most powerful. They are led by their wicked brother, Bliko. Bliko? Oh no, not him. We just got rid of him. I shook my head in disbelief. In our world, anyway, we got rid of him. Bliko is the most powerful of them all, continued Lighthorn. They say he once had a good half named Blinko, but he has long been gone, vanquished by his dark half. Without Blinko to control him, Bliko reigns supreme, killing as he pleases. He is unstoppable. Dude, you can't just, like, cram your second draft of your awful story and put it in after the awful,
Yes,
stupid,
you can.
breaking climax. Yeah, I knew he can, but it's like, no, you still can't do that, no. There's Bliko reigns supreme, killing us as he pleases. He is unstoppable. Why, yes, I would like another cup of bacon. Please hold the teas cozy away from my mouth. I would like an anti-drip for my washing. Thank you very much. We all stared at Clemency, or Clem, as Lighthorn said he was called. I didn't know what kind of monstrous deed the wolf and dragon had done to him, but it had cracked his mind. He hadn't said a single coherent thing since we rescued him and spent a great deal of time talking to the wall. Yeah. They sat him down and read him the audio version of this book. Specially recorded by the author for donating to his Kickstarter. They tortured him, you see, said Lighthorn sadly. They beat him within an inch of his life and gave him things that made him hallucinate. They did it all for fun. Is there anything I can do to help? I'm quite good at making medicines, as long as Clyde is kept away. I glared at Clyde from across the table. What? He said innocently. Never mind. There's nothing you can do. They destroyed him mentally. He might snap out of this state one day, but not with anything you can do. You simply cannot imagine what horrors these beasts did to him, except you just told them what they did. Not in your wildest nightmares. They made me watch. He turned his head away. Clyde slurped on his cocoa loudly. So the key difference in this universe is that Bliko became the dominating personality over Blinko. Bliko won. A nagging thought crept into my subconscious. There was something I felt like I was forgetting, something terribly important. It felt like, the portal! We left the portal open! In all caps. I leapt to my feet. Those monsters can get into our own world if they discover it. Clyde, we have to do something. I'm right behind you, dragon butt. Clyde pulled out a laser gun and cocked it. Clyde, where did you get that from? Your lab. Okay. We sped through the air and quietly looked through the bars at the twisted apartment. The dragon and wolf didn't seem to be around. Probably off terrorizing. Terrorizing poor people, I thought to myself. This was a terrible world, a broken world, a world that had been shattered beyond repair. You think there's an evil version of me? Asked Clyde, once we were sure that we were alone. Clyde, this world's you is probably a villain that has a nasty habit of being good once in a while. No, hush. They could be back at any moment. We have to get to the portal. We have to get to the swindle chopper. Cautiously, we crept across the floor. The old floor squeaked and squawked loudly under our footsteps. We peered around the broken lab door into the darkened room. The portal was gone. Back in our own universe, Mike and Lunaria were sitting in the Everspring Garden. Wait. Wait, isn't Mike with him? How the freaking frack is Mike with Lunaria sitting in the Everspring Garden of the Lobosian Spring Palace if he's there in the alternate dimension? Oh, wait, no. Oh, wait.
Is it alternate Mike?
No, shoot. I'm sorry. This story is like screwed my brain. No, he went with Clyde. Ugh. So I guess Mike is there. My bad. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, who wants to place bets that Mike's going to be like, Alex, is that you? It totally doesn't look like you at all. It looks like a really cheesy, evil version of you, but I'm totally convinced it's you. How could you do this? Anyway. They sat on a swing of vine among the many beautiful alien flowers and plants. Since becoming king, Mike had rarely set foot outside of the capital city, thus he had not seen many of these exotic plants until now. He watched with fascination at one unusual flower in particular. It had petals similar to a sunflower, but each individual petal was a different bright color. Very slowly and gently, the petals spun around the flower center like a gentle fan. Carefully, he stuck a hand out and brushed it against the flower. It felt like sticking his hand under a gentle, soft waterfall. A curious feeling, he pulled his hand back and his fingers were completely dry. It's because it's a flower, dude. A lovely song rose through the air, and at first Mike thought it was Lunaria singing. It's the flower, honey. Those are singing lyricals.
Wow.
She giggled softly at him. They aren't really singing, of course. It's merely the warmth of your fingers on the petals. Think of it like blowing on a piece of grass and making it whistle, only these are much more sensitive. Simply beautiful, said Mike. And the chat's gone. Simply beautiful, said Mike lovingly, although he was not staring at the flower. How do you know so much about these flowers anyway? Are they terribly common here? Oh, no, not at all. Singing lyricals are quite rare. Botany is a bit of a hobby of mine. That's all. I could tell you about all of these marvelous plants if you wanted me to. It's even trapped in an unknown world, monsters hunting us. The smell of fire in the air. Mike snapped back to consciousness. He was lying on the ground among the lyricals, who were all singing to themselves because of his touch. Lunaria was bent over him with a worried expression on her face. Mike, please wake up, please. What happened? Mike shook his head and sat up. I don't know. 1 minute we were talking pleasantly, and the next you were on the ground. Lunaria gently laid a slender hand on his shoulder. Are you all right? No, something is wrong. Mike got to his feet and gazed up at the sky. A moment ago, things had been so wonderful and peaceful. Now he had this nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach. We have to go back to Earth. My brother is in trouble. I can feel it. Lunaria took his hand in hers. Of course. Whatever you think is best, dear. I'm right by your side. Gone, eh? Lighthorn scrabbled over to his computer and began typing. It's obvious they took the device in order to lure you into their clutches. They know who you are. They can feel it. It's the same way that you knew who the stone dragon was. It's a blood thing. I can tell you right now that they have absolutely no interest in your world. It'll be too bright and cheerful for them. They want you to never leave here. They want you to stay so they can torment you. And I'll tell you something else. I guarantee you that Bligo knows you are here by now. While Lighthorn and I talked, Clyde snuck around the lab looking at Lighthorn's inventions. They were nothing as evil as Blackthorn's inventions in our world. Clyde picked up a small ray gun and looked at it. A small note on the side read, Evil Imploder. Hey, what's this? Clyde waved the gun in our direction. Be careful with that, please. Lighthorn half skidded across the room and scooped the ray out of Clyde's hand. It's my evil imploder. It's meant to be fired at a villain. If they have any wickedness in them at all, their negative energy will build up and expanding. Their negative energy will build up and expanding.
Oh my gosh.
This is the result of nega darkness.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Until they burst from the suppressed power, but I'm afraid it doesn't work properly. It works too well, I should say. You see anybody and everybody have at least a little negative energy in them, even if it's just a little bit, boom. But I don't have the heart to use it on those villains. Exactly, Bon Bon. Even if they might deserve it, I could never kill. He looked sadly down at the gun. I wish I'd never invented it. The temptation has been great before. That's ridiculous, said Clyde angrily. You have a duty to the world. You could heal the entire planet if you just... But he stopped when he saw the tears in Leghorn's eyes. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you cry. Again.
You have a duty to kill people.
Don't you think I know all of that? But if I killed those monsters, I would be no better than them. I refuse to lower my morals into the pits of darkness. Lighthorn turned away and put the ray gun back on the shelf. You have to find a way home. Yes. We know that, Lighthorn, but how? They've hidden our portal somewhere, and... Oh, fellas! A voice called out from above. It was a voice that we knew now by heart, a voice that reached down to the very pit of our being and sent out stomachs for a loop. It was the voice of Bleeko. This paragraph.
Oh my gosh.
He floated over Lighthorn's hidden lab with a terrible aura of menace. Grimacing, I stepped outside. What do you want, Bleeko? And why have you taken our machine? I swear if you've gone to our world with it... I don't want your world, you pathetic little insect. Why would I? I already have all of this. Bleeko spread his arms out wide to show the entire world. It's all mine, my toy, with which I can destroy all that I like. If I wished, I could destroy this entire planet with a single ball of energy, but it still amuses me. That is why I keep it around. Like this book, sort of. No, what I want is you. There is a powerful energy flowing within you. I can feel it. It's the same energy that flows within the stone dragon. But I can't kill him, of course. I'd be down one loyal minion. Those are so hard to come by. Apparently the author thinks that's hilarious. Energy flowed from our fingertips. They danced and waved in specters of light. Our imaginations fought each other, caught in a grip of chaos. Minds like steel, one imagination of darkness, one imagination of light. Our forces caught against each other. Bleeko and I were locked in a battle of such carnage and power that colors flowed around us like a raging river. I heard his cold laughter all around me. I was trapped, useless, cold, alone. I felt my brains leaking out the top of my head. Yeah, that happens when you read this book. A world of pure imagination. Bleeko's pure imagination. No. It can't be. No, no. I wouldn't just die there. It would be far worse. I would live forever trapped in an endless agony. I couldn't let this happen. I couldn't let... My eyes glowed and a light sheared forth in a tidal wave. Bleeko gasped and put his hands up, shielding his face. I heard screaming and my eyes shot open. I realized it was that I was screaming. I blinked and looked around in every direction. The city was gone. I stood on a small island below a craven black sky. Surrounding every side was a black sea that looked as deep and cold as ever a sea could be. With my hands shaking, I dipped my finger into the ebony ocean. Oh gosh. Yes. Ink. It was all ink. This world was gone. I floated in an abyss of ink with nothing else as far as the eye could see. I could sense no life at all. Bleeko had a great attachment to this world. He had twisted it and sewn it together with his own hatred and loathing. My head spun around, and I saw Master Sohi walking toward me quietly. He sat down beside me and put his feet down over the sea of ink. This world became a part of Bleeko. It was filled with his own black, terrible imagination. You destroyed him. You destroyed this world. He stared bleakly out over the dead world, But remember, this is not your own world. This was a world where everything had gone terribly wrong, a mad world where right was wrong and wrong was right. It is not your own, but let this be a lesson to you. Look around you and see what the fate of your world will be if you should fail. Go home and be with the ones you love. My gosh, I would not be surprised. He snapped his fingers and was gone. Maybe he had never really been there. I didn't know. But how do I get home? My voice shook and I curled up into a ball in the sand that was suddenly there for some reason. What should I do? Clyde, Clyde, Clyde. Stars fell. Babies cried. No, I looked around me. Everywhere light shone bright white. I stood first. My immortal would be better, illusionary. Hate to say it. That would be better. My fists clenched tightly and my eyes shut. We had saved this world. It's true that we had destroyed it, but it was free from Bleako's grasp. The poor souls that had died here were free. A grin spread across my face. Free. I fell forward toward the sea of ink. Hands grasped me and shook me vigorously. Oh, God, please wake up, Alex. I don't want to be here alone. Hands slapped my face in the darkness. Lighthorn is gone. Everyone is gone. I'll die here all alone. Hands pounded my chest. Wake up, stupid! Clyde punched me in the face. Hey! My eyes shot open and I grabbed his wrist before he hit me again. I'm awake. You didn't have to hit me. I rubbed my eye and glared at him. Clyde was frantic. You fought Bleako. We both stared around. The sea of ink was there, just as it had been in my nightmare. The destruction of this world had been no fallacy.
The Thousand-Eyes Chopper is here.
Finished Clyde sadly. I sighed and got to my feet. It's okay, Clyde. Bleako is gone, at least in this world. We need to get home. I looked around at the vast nothing that surrounded us on all sides. If we can get home, I took his hand and we held each other close. Clyde's warm body shivered in my arms. Hey, it'll be okay. I pulled him closer. There's no need to fear. I'm here. He stopped shivering a bit and looked up into my eyes. Well, if I gotta be trapped in an endless dead-end world, I guess I'd rather be with you. You're not so bad. He pushed himself away from me. Look, I know I've never exactly been the ideal hero. I'm impulsive, rude, jerky. I know what the rest of the league thinks of me. God knows why they keep me around. He chuckled, laughing at himself, but there was great pain behind his words. I grabbed his arm and pulled him back. Clyde, you are a hero. I'm not exactly ideal either. I'm not very smart sometimes. And I could get myself into situations like this that probably could have been avoided with a little logic. Oh, we're not so different, you and I. Clyde looked into my eyes, opening his mouth and shutting it several times, like he was trying to say something, but the words got lost in his throat. He stopped trying and merely buried his head in my chest, his arms wrapped tightly around me. That's all I've ever wanted, someone who will understand me. Someone who understood me. I gently rubbed the top of his head with my hand. How weird is that? That's all I've ever wanted, too. I lifted his chin softly with my hand, bringing our tender gaze back together. It felt like eternity.
Fear and awe in your eye, showing you what you can't see.
Okay. In my lab, in our own world, Mike and Blinko stared with horror into the portal that stood open. I hope Alex isn't in there. There's just nothing. Blinko shook his head. It's an ocean of ink, a dead-tuned world. Come on, we have to look for him. They set forth into the darkness. Mike shivered as he passed through the portal. There was no wind on the other side. He called as loudly as he could for me. Look, Alex. Clyde pointed into the grim distance. A small circle had opened far away. The portal! My eyes grew wide as Blinko and Mike flew through, looking for us. Blinko spotted us lying together on the black ink gulf. Tears welled up in his eyes. Alex, you're safe. We were all so worried about you. He set his jaw and motioned around us to the dead ink sea. Did you do all of this? How did this happen? Sudden realization crossed his mind. What have you two been? It was Bleeko. The Bleeko from this world, I mean, I stuttered awkwardly. I defeated Bleeko. Well, a Bleeko. You idiot, gasped Mike. You went into another dimension alone? Hey, what do I look like? Chopped liver? Groaned Clyde. I went with him, you know. Well, then you are both dumb. Mike shook his head. Do you realize that this world could have had no air? It could have been radioactive. It could have killed you. It could have killed you second you stepped inside. Could have killed you second you stepped inside.
Oh my gosh.
My jaw dropped as I thought about this. I grinned. I guess I didn't think about that. I was so excited to even get the machine to work that I just... Wrong! Mike started slamming his head against the side of the portal repeatedly. That was so reckless. Mike, calm down. I'm sorry. Please stop doing that. Blinko rolled his eyes at us. Let's just get out of here, please. This place gives me the creeps. It's like floating over a sea of blood. Costumes bleed ink instead of blood. Did we mention that? I nodded and we flew back through the portal. With a sigh, I closed off that dead world forever. In Blackthorn's lab, Bliko had taken a new form. He had shifted from his gaseous form to a solid purple liquid. He formed 2 legs, 2 feet, and a mouth and slowly shifted into a wicked grin. Blackthorn bustled into the lab with his arms full of wire. He looked up at Bliko, unsurprised, and Bliko grinned down at him. Despite Blackthorn's best efforts to keep him down, Bliko had begun to rise again. Listen to me, you little worm. Everything is worm. That's the author thinks that's like the biggest freaking insult ever. You worm, you worm. Sneered malevolently. You are no match for the power of my imagination. You are no match for the power of my energy. I will fill every crevice. I will fill every crevice. I will fill every void. I am Bliko. I am a god. That's what you think, fool, said Blackthorn, though a bit uncertainly. You belong to me now, and I will use you. Your power is almost limitless, your strength boundless. All I have to do is find a way to harness it, and the world will belong to me. Fool, you think you can harness a god? You might as well try to control space itself. It's true that I might be weak now, but I am growing stronger. Make no mistake, old man. I will kill you. 165, like, not that many. That fool Blinko thinks he has the power to overcome me as well. He will not. Blackthorn's head began to pound, and he fell to his knees. Stop! Stop this! Oh, and why should I do that, dear Professor? Bliko's voice seemed to echo through his skull. I am just a thing to harness, remember? Well, go ahead, harness me!
Okay.
The pounding in Blackthorn's cranium expanded. He could feel his eyes beginning to bug out of his head. Any second now, his brains would splatter all over the laboratory walls. He shook and crawled his way across the floor with almost paralyzed fingers. He crawled out and placed his hand on the door pad. It shut with a whoosh. The pounding in his skull ceased. Bliko wasn't strong enough to hurt him through solid steel. Not yet, anyway, but he was getting stronger. This was true. It worried Blackthorn. He would have to do something about it if he wanted to live, and fast. Yes. Chapter 13. Trudy hummed as she danced merrily around the kitchen. She was baking a very special pie for Blinko, his favorite, gooseberry pie. She didn't make it very often because it was quite irritating how little cheery bluebirds and woodland creatures turned up every single time to assist her. Dude, where are you even going with this? Oh, it wasn't that she disliked woodland animals, but it was so tired having to clean up after them and brush the squirrels out of the chimney when she was done. Cautiously, she opened her front door and peered outside. No happy woodland animals so far. With a sigh, she closed the door and turned around, and there they were. Pretty little bluebirds were nestled all along the ceiling, and 4 deer were eating her petunias. All right, you get out of here. March. She forced her mouth into a frown and pointed toward the front door. Move, hup two, hup two. The animals just stared at her. Oh no, not singing, please, just. The birds sprang into cheery... The birds sprang into cheery song among the rafters, and even the deer began making deer sounds. There was a bear in a pink tutu sleeping on her sofa. That was a new one.
Wow.
Out, 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 out! Trudy grabbed a broom and started chasing the animals out of the house. Every single time I bake, how do you know? She chased the deer away from her potted plants and brushed the tutu-wearing bear out of the house. She glared up at the ceiling with red, bloodshot eyes. The happy little bluebird screamed in terror and flew out the window. Phew, I think that was all of them. Trudy wiped her brow and smiled warmly again. She looked down. A little baby squirrel stood at her feet. Trying to look as adorable as it could. Aw, you're just a little cutie, aren't you? Trudy picked the baby up and hugged him. Is your mama here? Oh, the baby squirrel jumped out of the window quickly. Trudy frowned sadly. Oh, well, be careful out there. She shut the window and turned around. I wonder what got into that little guy. Oh, well. She spun back around, her dress whirling around her daintily. She sighed again. This was how things worked when you were the girlfriend of a cartoon hero. You couldn't fight fate, but you could keep fate from eating your potted plants. Potted plants, indeed. She walked into the kitchen and went back to working on Blinko's pie. She didn't notice the shadows creeping closer and closer to her. As she rolled out dough, Blackthorn's shadow fell across her back. She spun around and screamed just as a rolling pin hit her on the head. Rancor stuffed the unconscious beauty into a sack and then fled the scene as fast as they could. They knew they didn't have much time before Blinko came knocking. Blinko, Mike, and I landed on the lawn mere moments after we heard the scream. Blinko charged at the front door and knocked it down. Trudy, Trudy, where are you? Please say something. I swear if somebody's hurt you, I'm going to... Blinko, look over here. We found the ransom note in the kitchen, held down by a bag of flour. It looked like Trudy had been in the middle of baking something. Blinko grabbed the note. Dear Blinko and Company, it is our severe displeasure to inform you that we have taken your beloved Trudy. We realize that the kidnapping the hero's sweetheart is a big cliche, but it fits our purposes. If you do as we say, she will not come to any harm. You will come to my laboratory without resistance. I have plans for Blinko. With love, Blackthorn. P.S. Oh, all right, and Rancor too. That is actually what it says. No, we could see the fury burning in Blinko's eyes. He began to scream, and the note burst into flames. Nobody messes with my Trudy, nobody. If Blackthorn wants to see me, I am more than happy to oblige. He vanished from the kitchen in a vortex of fury, carrying us with him. Because there are some cliches that every villain must carry on traditionally. You know, we just said frick the Lobosian traditions are stupid, but the superhero cliches, yeah, we gotta follow those. Cliches that every villain must carry on traditionally. Blackthorn had tied Trudy up to a chair with ropes, just tight enough to restrain her, but not so tight that she couldn't work her way loose over time. You'll never get away with this, you monster, Trudy yelled at his back. Blinko will save me and teach you a lesson you'll never forget. You just wait until he gets here. Blackthorn turned around and grinned horribly at her. Oh, I intend for him to get here. I need him for my master plan. He paused. Well, Trudy said impatiently. Well, what? Trudy rolled her eyes. You're supposed to reveal your entire master plan to me so that the readers will know what you're planning. Every villain does it. Do you want to lose your villain's license?
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have his address.
It's okay.
What are you talking about? Cutting down the auto. Your mom's just like, is that okay? I don't have his address.
Swandle chipper.
Yeah. Yes, Kate's mom. I think that'll be enough for us to find him. Blackthorn glared at her. Oh, very well. I suppose I must. He cleared his throat loudly. Behold! And now all I can think of is Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like, behold! I don't even watch that show, but I know that. He placed his hand on a keypad, nearby, and a huge metal door whooshed open. Trudy screamed, Bliko, no, it can't be. You brought him back to life? Blackthorn's eyes shut up. Oh no, he never completely died. So many times he's been nearly destroyed. That is still better than all 202 pages of this. Yes, Torin, yes. That's what I was talking about. But still, yeah, the Shrek thing, but still, that deserves $30 and a $30,000 Kickstarter. Yes. Yeah. I rescued him from the abyss of a shattered world. I intended to use his power for my own purposes, but he's growing too strong. If he regains his full power, he'll surely kill me. This is where your beloved Blinko comes into the picture. He flipped a huge switch on the wall, and a screen of lights attached to a huge machine beeped to life. It was shaped like a giant pair of scales, but with glass domes over the two flat arms. Flashing lights covered every inch of it like a Christmas tree. You see, the only thing that can counter Blinko's growing strength is Blinko. I suppose you could say that they are two sides of the same coin. Because we didn't know this. They need to be recombined. A wicked grin spread across his face. This may be an unfortunate side effect of destroying Blinko's personality. You have to have one to destroy it first. He cackled to himself. But it's a risk I'm willing to take. You fiend! Trudy struggled against the ropes that were binding her. You'll get yours, you'll see. Moments later, Blackthorn's reinforced steel door exploded off its hinges and flew across the room. Blinko stood in his place, his body shaking with anger. Ah, here is the guest of honor, sneered Blackthorn. Do come right in, have a seat. Would you care for some tea? Trudy, Blinko breathed his beloved name with fury, skimming off of his vocal cords. Blackthorn, you dare to threaten True, I dare to threaten you. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. He stepped forward with Mike and me following close behind. Blinko, watch out, Blink, he has Blinko here. Trudy called as loud as she could. She bounced in the chair, still trying to free herself. Inside Blinko's room, he could sense the presence of his other half. He laughed liquidly to himself. He tried to muster his strength and smash through the glass, but failed to even leave a crack. Furiously, he began trying to reach out with his mind and take a hold of Blinko. That's right, my dull friend. I have Blinko here with me. Soon his power will be all mine, and I will be able to destroy you with my own two fists. Blackthorn sneered. But until that happens, perhaps this will keep you occupied. He stomped one foot hard against the floor, and a lab table rose up from the floor with the Rancor strapped to it. Rancor struggled in anger and frustration. He glared at Blackthorn. You'll never get away with this, you treacherous snake. How dare you betray me like this, after everything I've done? Silence, worm! Take a drink. Snapped Blackthorn with a wide smile across his face. We made no agreement. I never said we were friends. Besides, I need you for this little experiment. Without warning, he whipped a syringe from his pocket and stabbed it angrily into Rancor's shoulder. Rancor let out a howl of pain, and his eyes swirled red and black. His muscles began to spasm and expand to the size of overly inflated water balloons. Oh, it is the Shack boss. His scrawny legs grew larger and thicker, like huge veins rising like advancing soldiers in an alien kingdom. His body tripled and then quadrupled in size, his eyes bugging out in madness. He roared and ripped apart the straps confining him to the table. His mechanical arm, being the only part of him not biologically connected to him, looked small and forlorn, dangling from his massive arm. Very good. My new weapon, Blackthorn sneered. Now go destroy the heroes as I ordered you to. Rancor's beefy hand snapped out and ripped Blackthorn from the floor in his fist. Oh, I'm going to destroy them, but first I'm going to destroy you. His eyes radiated anger and madness as his fingers slowly started to clench the mad scientist. Blackthorn screamed in pain as he felt his bones snap, his lungs gasping for air. Hey, cut that out. I leaped forward to save one of my foulest enemies from such a gruesome death. Even Blackthorn doesn't deserve that. But you save him, but you didn't save Rancor from turning into the shack, whatever the crap I'm looking at. I gripped. Even Blackthorn doesn't deserve that. I gripped Rancor's finger and tried in vain to pull it away. It was like trying to pull steel. Rancor's vile grin widened as he saw my paltry attempt. Worthless hero! With a flick of his finger, he sent me splatting into a wall. uh, I don't know what you did to me, Blackthorn, but thank you. Now not even Blinko and his brothers can stop me. I was pretty fantastic before, but now I'm unbelievable. Alex, Mike rushed to my side as Rancor starting showing off, flexing his Herculean-sized muscles.
Wow.
Ugh, I'm fine. I staggered to my feet and turned to face Rancor. So you finally have the strength to match your ego. You must be so proud. He glared at me as his smile faded. You could say that, and soon you won't have anything at all, including a head. He laughed at his own joke and gave me a sarcastic wink. Blinko shook his head. You don't get it, do you? You can't win. Your kind never does. He closed his eyes to compose himself. And you hurt my brother. I can't allow you to get away with that. With speed so fast neither Mike or I saw it, Blinko launched himself at Rancor and began punching him in the face. We heard the bone crack as his fist connected with a godlike power. Rancor was lifted off his feet and hit the wall with a sickening sound. Blinko spit, not taking his eyes off Rancor as the bully tried to gather his wits. How dare you strike me? Rancor held his aching head with his hand and tried to control the dizzy spell. You know what? You ain't got the ink to beat me. You just try that again and all. Just then I noticed something terrible in the room. It wasn't large, but perhaps it was the most dangerous sight I could have seen at that moment. It was a crack. A crack in Bliko's container, to be more precise. It couldn't have been larger than a hair, but it boded a very short future. Blinko, watch out! My eyes grew wide as I tackled my brothers to the floor, and Bliko erupted from the pod, sending shards of glass whirling around the room. He didn't look completely drawn, almost like a bare sketch. A stick Bliko, drawn with simple lines. Yes, one line. But we could tell it was him. We could feel the evil emanating from him like a toxic fire. Here I am, kiddies. It's time for the Bliko show. And trust me, it's going to knock you dead. A fierce grin, resembling a stick with jagged teeth, slowly grew on the malevolent Toon's face. Then, much to our surprise, he flew past Blinko and straight toward Rancor like lightning. Come to Papa, you big juicy pile of energy. What? Wait, no, you can't. What are you? Bliko placed one immovable hand on Rancor's arm. With unrelenting horror, Rancor's face turned pale and ghostly white. His muscles began to shrink and shrivel away into oblivion. Leave Oblivion alone, damn it. As he grew weaker, the stick Bliko grew stronger, his energy building up. His features began to resemble a stick less and less, and his powerful body grew enormous. Yes, this is the power that I have been searching for. This is what I was born for. Bliko's now fully formed body turned toward Blackthorn. Cowering on the other side of the room. Behind him, Rancor dissolved into a puddle of lifeless ink on the floor, the only thing not absorbed being his artificial hand, which I thought was his arm, but whatever. Continuity, yay. A wide evil grin spread across Bliko face. You tried to use me, Blackthorn, he converged on the cowering scientist. You tried to use my power for your own good. You really oughtn't to have done that. You signed your own death warrant. I tried to run at him and stop him, but Blinko grabbed by arm and held me. Please, Bliko, it was the only way. We wouldn't have ruled together, don't you see? I wouldn't have. Ag! Blackthorn screamed as Bliko gripped the entire top of his head in a fist. Alas, you were not attuned. I guess I would have enjoyed seeing you turn into a puddle of lifeless slime. I guess I'm going to have to settle for this. Bliko squeezed his powerful fist together, and Blackthorn's head exploded between his fingers like a water balloon.
Wow.
Blood and brains quivered between his fingers, and Bliko laughed. He just laughed, as hard and loud as he could. His eyes shone, S-H-O-W-N, like red diamonds. I'm never going to forget that day. Bliko had done some vicious, murderous things before, but the day he killed Blackthorn was the day I truly realized the level of his madness. He licked his fingers afterward like it was some kind of tasty treat. I had to hold back a very powerful urge to vomit. And without another word, he was gone again, almost as quickly as he had come. What? I looked down at the lifeless remains of our fallen enemies with disbelief and shock. The three of us just held each other and cried. Very solemnly, we freed Trudy from her bindings. Because, she could have freed herself over time, but, screw that. And went home. From this altitude, Bliko had the entire world in his view. Not the whole world. It is not. He hovered just outside of Earth's atmosphere and surveyed his new empire. Yes, not even Bliko worried him anymore. He had no fear. That was for the rest of the world. With a flashy grin of razor teeth, he pumped his arms. Oh, yes. He could have absorbed Bliko back in the lab rather than Rancor. But that would have been a fool's errand. Yeah, let's explain why you didn't just do the logical thing. Bliko was his good half. He spat at the words like a vile poison. He did not want to combine that part of himself again. It made him weak, made him vulnerable, gave him a conscience. And who wants that? I have so much killing to do, but I have time now, time to do it slowly, to savor each and every death, the sweet ecstasy of innocent souls cut to ribbons. It's enough to make me shiver with pure bloodlust. He closed his eyes and scanned the world around him for energy, innocent energy. There then. It is only fitting. He delved back down into the world. Yeah, pretty much. Even that is better than this. Better. Bliko, come on, we have to do something. Don't you understand what we're up against? I talked to Blinko's back as he sat wooden as a statue, clutching his legs on the roof of CP Towers. Don't you care? Of course I care, Bliko mumbled. You're the one that doesn't understand. Bliko, he's just stronger than me now. Forget it. He's won. Blinko, this isn't you. Not like you at all. When Mike fought against Rogue, he knew what he was up against. He didn't stop no matter what. He knew that if a hero is worth the metal of his heart, he will prevail. That's who I thought you were. It's not me I'm worried about, Alex. He turned his head to look at me with tears in his eyes. It's you. You and Mike. I know that if I go to him and fight, you're going to come with me. You almost died once before trying to protect us. I won't have that happen again. Blinko, Mike sat down next to him, dangling his feet from the tower. Sometimes winning means counting on others. We wouldn't have gotten where we are today if it wasn't for you. When I drew you, I envisioned a hero, a savior that mankind can count on no matter how terrifying things get. Goku in an Animaniac body. Godlike powers and no weaknesses. Well, now Earth is at one of its most dire moments, but she has more than one savior. She has a dragon, and a wolf, and one of the bravest toons I've ever met. As long as we fight together, we will always conquer darkness. We are brothers united. He clasped Blinko's hand. I took his hand, and Blinko took my hand. We stood there in a triangle of brotherhood. Our eyes shut in silence. Besides, you realize that he's going to kill us anyway. We are the only thing that has a chance of stopping him. I looked down at the roof. No one else in the league has anything close to his power. And then you can bet that after we're dead, he's going to go after them. You're right, you two. I'm a fool for giving up like that. I'm no coward. I just didn't want you getting mixed up in this. Blinko took a deep breath. But I can see we have no choice this time. The only way to win is to go at him with all we've got. For brothers, for the world, for blood and ink alike, we will be victorious. Blinko fell to his knees, clutching his head. He started to scream. Ah, here it is. This is a place that beckoned to me. Blinko looked down at the Toonling Inkmentary School in Eastern Ink City beside him. Below him. So many souls. And they've all done me the honor of gathering in one place. How nice of them. And young, too. I love stamping out the young ones the most. Because now that Blackthorn is gone, Blinko has to be the pedo of the story. Oh, but did he want to take them all out at once like his